Shigeru Miyamoto was once quoted as saying, "Through the entire Nintendo 64 period, we were thinking of ways to produce a new Metroid title. We couldn't come up with any concrete ideas at that time." Then, Nintendo approached the president of the Texas-based Retro Studios, Jeff Spangenberg, who was the former founder of Iguana Entertainment, the studio behind Turok Dinosaur Hunter. Impressed by the company and its previous works, Nintendo, along with select Nintendo EAD and R&D 1 members, collaborated with Retro and made plans to develop 5 titles for the GameCube. Over time, 4 of them got cancelled, as did Spangenberg, who left the company after a series of embarrassing photos were released on the internet. The 5th game was Metroid Prime. Metroid went 3D on November 18, 2002. Chronologically, Prime takes place after Samus's first mission on the NES. Aaron responds to a distress signal from a space station orbiting Talon 4 and quickly discovers that it's a space pirate research facility overrun by escaped specimens. The space pirates have begun a series of biological experiments infusing creatures with a radioactive substance called phazon. The station goes critical, and an explosion causes Samus's suit to malfunction, disabling important gear like the Various suit and Morph Ball. While escaping, she crosses paths with Meta Ridley and follows him to the planet below, where she learns of the meteor impact that brought phazon, the horrifying extent of the pirates' experiments, and the fate of the Chozo, who slowly perished after the impact. Foretelling the return of Samus, the Chozo also left numerous weapons and 12 artifact keys to unseal the source of the phazon corruption. The player's first mission in 8 years was to stop any phazon research being done and eradicate the source of it. Metroid's flip into 3 dimensions was seamless. Prime retained the essential gameplay functions that made the franchise what it was: platform jumping, shooting, and exploring. And it looked better than ever as creatures nestled into dirt, bosses threw their weight around, and environments dripped, wiggled, and boiled. The series prided itself on atmosphere, and the absolute desolation you felt several miles beneath the surface of Talon 4 has yet to be matched. Early builds had Samus hunting from a third-person perspective, but Miyamoto assured the developers a first-person view would better fit the power suit. This was handled rather cleverly by a smooth camera animation as she went from ball to human form. Gamers would have to adjust to the shift, and the industry would have to accept Nintendo's new custom genre. The company officially classified the game as a first-person adventure, not a shooter. Unique to any first-person game, Prime's point of view was from inside Samus's helmet. The HUD wrapped around her face, displaying health and ammo, maps, and imminent threats, but the real magic was how the visor became a real part of the world she was exploring. Steam obscured her view, bug guts splattered across her visor, and electrical enemies interfered with the display, causing it to go static. And if the lighting was just right, you could even catch a glimpse of the beautiful heroine's face. Also new was the ability to lock onto enemies by holding the L button. This fixed her viewpoint on a target, freeing her to strafe, jump, and fire at the same time. Although stationary, manual aiming was also performed by holding the right shoulder button. The simplified control scheme was easier to learn than the dual analog setup customary to most first-person shooters, and it also made traveling surprisingly manageable. There was no corner clinging or wall jumping, but there were still plenty of ways to explore. The scan visor, first hinted at with the X-ray scope in Super Metroid, played a crucial role in Prime. Scanning items, enemies, switches, and more revealed basic or hidden information, opened doors, lowered elevators, etc. The story was told through the data you gathered from your scans, and a logbook collected every record you found. Special visors like the thermal and X-ray models found later in the game let you track enemies and expose secrets that would otherwise be invisible. But on such a gargantuan planet, there were a lot of places to get lost. Thankfully, a never-before-seen hint system offered clues to gamers as to where to go next, and an incredibly detailed 3D map helped them plot their course. Also, items tucked away in each area would make a buzzing noise when you got close to them, letting you know they were close by, but not giving away their exact location. Morphing into Samus's ball form shifted the view into third person, allowing for easier navigation through form-fitting tunnels. The spider ball from Metroid 2 also made a comeback. While it was now limited to magnetic rails, the wall-crawling power-up was just as cool as ever. New to the series was the Boost Ball, which gave a burst of speed to the Space Hunter's morph status, letting her build momentum on half-pipes to reach high places and operate mechanical devices by rotating gears in the ground. Altogether, the various morph ball abilities and the mazes inspired by them provided some of the most distinctive and memorable moments in the game. Short elevator rides and doors that didn't always open right away were used to mask the game's modest load times. This continuous progression made the areas feel more connected, and the entire planet huge and never-ending. After discovering the space pirates' evil plans, retrieving the 12 artifact keys, and killing Meta Ridley, Samus unsealed the impact crater filled with mutated Metroids. There, she confronted the source of the Phazon, Metroid Prime, in an epic two-part boss battle that forced the galactic heroine to utilize every power-up she had gained. After dying, Metroid Prime absorbed the Phazon in Samus' suit, and if you collected all the items, you witnessed it somehow survive. The multiple endings were not based on completion time, but on the percentage of items collected. 100% revealed the best ending, an extended cutscene featuring a helmetless Samus. No 3D bikini, though. Since it was released simultaneously with Metroid Fusion, players could link the two games together via the Game Boy Advance link cable to unlock special bonuses, including a version of the original Metroid and the ability to play through the GameCube game with the suit from Fusion. Fans were initially unsure about Prime. Morphing into 3D was a risky transformation for the franchise, and they weren't sure first person was the best way to play. After its release, however, Metroid Prime received high praise from gamers and critics alike, selling over 1 million units in America alone and winning numerous Game of the Year awards. While criticism of Prime usually involved the lower quality MIDI compositions, a surplus of backtracking, and no option for dual analog control, it still stands to this day as one of the best games of its generation, and one of the greatest 3D games ever made. Players soon realized that Prime was not just a subtitle tacked onto Metroid, but the beginning of a trilogy that would cross two platforms and spawn two handheld spin-offs. Retro Studios immediately began work on the sequel, hoping to live up to almost unreachable expectations. Metroid Prime 2 Echoes, developed by Retro Studios and directed by Mark Pacini, was released on November 15, 2004 in North America, 2 years after Metroid Prime. The story follows its precursor chronologically and takes place before Metroid 2 on the Game Boy. With a new light and dark world dynamic, the Metroid universe became sinister, with mind-crushing puzzles, uglier bosses, and vaster lands. And in a first for the franchise, gamers could charge blast each other in split-screen multiplayer. While combating space pirates collecting Phazon on planet Ether, Galactic Federation Marines lost contact, and Samus was sent to investigate. The Marines were found dead, killed by the Ing, a shadowy race that appeared after a Phazon meteor struck the planet and created two dimensions of light and dark. Samus, now stranded after her ship was struck by lightning, encountered Umos, the last of the Luminoth, an alien race facing extinction from the Ing, and was asked to help rid the planet of the infestation by transferring energy existing in 3 controllers from the dark world to the light. that wasn't demanding enough, Samus also had to locate 9 Sky Temple keys to defeat the Ing once and for all. A mission made more dooming when Samus found a dark version of herself patrolling the planet. In true Metroid fashion, Samus loses her abilities, forcing her to re-upgrade a 6th time to save the planet. Echoes was distinguished for its mirrored dimensions, a feature that was first made popular in Zelda: A Link to the Past. This was one of the many reasons why Kensuke Tanabe, who wrote the SNES classic, was invaluable in the development of Prime 2. With slight variations, each dimension mirrored each other, essentially doubling the size of the game, though some would say in a rather cheap way. Both worlds worked against each other as well, as Ing inhabitants of Dark couldn't survive in the light of Luminoth, and vice versa. To avoid losing health in the toxic purple atmosphere, Samus activated light beacons put there by Luminoth. Actions done in one realm affected the other. Managing 2 dimensions at once made the puzzles more complex than ever before. Graphics, following an already stellar presentation in Prime 1, were arguably the finest in the series. Maps, puzzles, enemies, and boss battles were deviously devised and had you exploiting your batch of abilities even more so than in the first Prime, especially the Morph Ball and its various functions. Combined with the gorgeous locales from the soaked wetlands of the Torvus Bog with destructible vegetation to the futuristic cybernetic sanctuary fortress, Planet Ether felt more genuine than any other planet Samus previously stepped boot on. New to her arsenal, the female gunner empowered the light and dark beams, both more effective in their opposite realm. These were the first beams to lose ammunition, as Samus could only collect ammo for one by destroying enemies or containers with the other. This put pressure on the bounty hunter to conserve bullets, creating a new strategic element to the gameplay. Other upgrades new to the series were abundant. The Echo Visor allowed Samus to see sound waves and open sonic gates, while the Dark Visor revealed interdimensional items, platforms, and more. Aaron also made use of the Seeker Launcher, Screw Attack, Annihilator Beam, Light Suit, and more. After transferring the remaining dark energy to the Light World, retrieving the 9 Sky Temple keys, and opening the portal to the Sky Temple itself, Aaron finally came face to face with the Emperor Ing in a fierce 3-part war. Defeating it put the dark side of the planet in critical condition, leaving you with 8 minutes to escape. An easy feat, if only Dark Samus minded her own business. After fending off the evil reflection once more, Samus made it out alive. The best ending was once again based on the percentage of items. 75% showcased Samus in her Zero suit, a blue outfit that debuted in the GBA remake of the NES original. Dark Samus also makes a repeat performance in the ultimate finale as a result of 100% completion. Echo's most notable first for the franchise was multiplayer. 4 hunters could assume a different colored Samus and square off on a single screen in deathmatch or bounty mode, the latter challenging opponents to collect coins dropped by injured players. All the control from the single player was intact, and Morph Ball boosting disabled any auto-lock targeting. Multiplayer was complete with multiple arenas, scattered power-ups that turned Samus invisible or allowed her to hack the visors of other players, and numerous spots to use her special upgrades. The dark side of Echo's feedback usually involved the further lack of dual analog control and an even deeper level of backtracking thanks to the dual dimensions and the puzzles they supplied. Multiplayer didn't exactly hurt the game, but most agreed it was a throwaway that didn't warrant repeated play. Some also thought the quest for the 9 Sky Temple keys lasted too long. But fans wanting more of what the original Prime offered got exactly that, and little else. Metroid Prime 2 Echoes scored high among critics and fans, though not to the degree the original did, and it showed at retail, where it was a relative bomb compared to Nintendo's other mascot-based games. Come back for more Primetime next week in Part 4 of our 5-part Metroid retrospective. Samus spins off to the Nintendo DS, gaining an arcade morph ball flipper upgrade and touchscreen controls that revolutionized the iffy prospect of smooth shooting on a handheld. From there, Samus warps to the Wii, and a mysterious corruption infiltrates the new generation.